What's going on, guys? Welcome back to our tutorial world here on the Bedrock edition. Today we're going to be doing a quick tutorial on a villager breeder. Now there's a lot of controversy over how quickly the villagers are bred and made. Now there isn't actually appears, now I've done a lot of testing of this already. There does not appear to be any sort of time limit or how quickly it is. It's pretty much just dependent on how quickly the crops grow. And a lot of people think it's dependent on how many doors you have underneath to how far away the villagers are taken off to. None of that matters. There's only a couple of things that you've got to make sure of before building this. One is that you cannot build this within 65 blocks of any other type of wooden door. Trapdoors are fine, and I believe iron doors are fine, but any other type of wooden door will actually throw off the villagers. And basically, the way that they want to reproduce is that they're reproducing to try to fill the villager cap for the villager underneath. And if there's other doors in the area, then it's going to throw that off. Now they also, oh, now they also the second thing to make sure of is that you're not building this above a stronghold. That is a mistake that quite a few people have made, including myself in the past, and they'll figure out that their villager breed is not working because there's a ton of doors in the actual stronghold underneath without realizing that there's a stronghold within 65 blocks of it. But yeah, that's just a couple of things just to be wary of. Now, as you can see, it's like all the crops are pretty much being harvested, but let me just grab some bone meal. And it is literally pretty much just dependent on how quickly that they can harvest the crops. Because you have one farmer and then one other villager in here. And once the farmer's got enough potatoes on him, he'll start throwing them to the other villager. And then once they've both got enough in their inventory, they'll start throwing it to each other, they'll get happy, and then they'll start reproducing. So if we just hang on for 2 seconds, and hopefully we can see it in action if they decide to get closer together. Come on. Okay, well it looks like that he wants to be friendly. You also got to be careful about killing off villagers nearby, because if you kill too many, then they'll become unwilling, and then you won't get the love hearts and they won't start reproducing. But as you can see, they're getting the love hearts, and as long as they sync up with each other, then you'll end up with a baby villager popping out, just like that. And it really is just dependent on how quickly the crops grow more than anything else. Like, it can now go for the next, probably about the next 10, maybe 15 minutes before they start reproducing again on the natural regrowth of the actual crops. But if we go in again and we start spamming a load of bone meal, just so the farmer's got an absolute ton to carry on harvesting. He'll get happy, he'll start throwing potatoes to the other villager. And then once they've both got enough potatoes to be throwing them at each other, they'll get happy, love hearts will start going, and then another baby villager will join our world. And is that? Come on. There we go. So as you can see, there is no actual cooldown time on the villager breeding whatsoever. It doesn't appear so. It's just a matter of how long the crops take to grow before they've actually got enough potatoes to be throwing it to each other for them to carry on breeding. Now, hearts will carry on flying between these lot until their potatoes run down in their inventory. And once their potatoes fall down below a certain amount, then they'll stop breeding villagers. Like, that one you just saw was born less than around about 20 seconds before the last one. And that's because I've just spammed a load of bone meal in there. So that is one way to increase the production rate of the villager breeder quite easily. Now we're going to get started with this tutorial now that I've explained it all, but we're going to have to go at least 65 blocks away. So we're at about 260, so we want to go to at least about 320. So say over around about here. I reckon if we just take it out of render range to be on the safe side. because otherwise it'll throw it off and you won't actually see the outcome of it. Now, because I've got my, what is it, is it generation or the tick radius? Simulation range is what it's called. There we go. I've got my simulation range up to 10 chunks, so it's going to be quite long before it actually goes out around the distance. But there it goes. Now, the first thing you want to do is dig 5 wide and then 5 down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I said 5. And then just clear that out. And then just down here, we just want to dig a little gap for our doors. So just dig it in by about 3. Now the doors themselves, you can have anywhere between 6 doors to 20 doors. If you have 21 doors, then you'll run the risk of iron golems start spawning, which you don't really want. Now what I would usually do for this villager breeder, like I have in the one just over there, is just dig out the floor and just whack down a load of jack-o'-lanterns, because you can place doors on jack-o'-lanterns and it will prevent mobs from spawning down here, which obviously if you have a villager down here and yeah, zombie spawns, it's going to be bad news and it's going to break your breeder. So we want one villager down here, just like so, and he's going to be all happy as. And then you just want to get a layer of glass, any coloured glass, it doesn't really matter. I usually go for the white stained glass because you get the streaks inside the clear glass, and the white stained glass seems to show the streaks a lot less. Now after this, regarding the actual size of the breeder itself, it can vary. You can have it a 5x5, 7x7, 9x9, 11x11. Always go for an odd number because it's easier to do the water sources. For this one, we're going to go for a 7x7, and that is purely because you only need one water source in the middle. So that will be 3, 4, that's a 5, a 6, and a 7. Now that is lined up just so that this 5 layer of glass is directly on the back end of it, so it fits all nicely. And then what you want to go ahead and do is get a bunch of trapdoors and just run them around the sides that is not on the same side as that glass there. You can't have anything obstructing that glass from the sky, because otherwise the doors down below won't register as a village. So we go like that. Put all of these down, and then like so. And then just around the edge you want to dig out a 1 wide gap, like so. And then we want some water. Then we put 1 source block over there, 1 source block over there, and then you want to punch out the middle one and put a source block there. Now you've got 2 options with this middle source block. You can use a lily pad like I am here, or you can cover it with carpet. But either way, you really do want to put a block. I usually build my villager breeders out of glass. You can build your breeder out of whatever type of block you want to tie in with the rest of your surrounding area. But you want to put a block directly above the lily pad, because the villager pathfinding does not see the lily pad as a solid block. Now you only want this going too high because you don't want endermen being able to teleport in here, because if they do, they can pick up the dirt and take it away, which you do not want. So yeah, so you only want it too high, and because the villagers don't see the lily pad as a block, if it is like that, so that's going to be your ceiling, they will see that as of like a walkable block, but it's actually a tiny bit higher, and the villagers are obviously a bit taller than we are and they won't be able to walk across, which will obstruct their pathfinding. So it's always a good idea just to put a block directly above that. It won't affect it in any other way apart from preventing the villagers pathfinding, so then they can actually get to each other a lot easier. Now after you've done that, we want to bring up the sides with our glass, or whatever block choice of you want, like so, like so, and then like so. And then we just want to bring this up by a few. Oh. If my guy actually wants to start placing the blocks, there we go. And like I say, now, is that, no, we said a few, didn't we? A few would be free. Like that, and like that, and like that. And then just around this edge here, where the water is, you just want to be running a layer of glass coming out. This is just so only the baby villagers can actually drop down there. You don't want your normal villagers dropping into the water streams. So yeah, the trapdoors are pretty much to allow the pathfinding of the baby villagers to run off the edge, because they will see that as a block able to be walked on. They'll run off the edge into the water streams, and then you can have the water streams funneling your babies wherever it is that you want them funneled to. So before we should have actually done that, we were actually meant to break out. Let me just get rid of this. One more line directly in the front, just so that the water sources carry on running. And now this one's going to be all messed up, isn't it? Yes, it is. That's my mistake. Make sure you don't do that. So basically, when you dig out one wide along all the way around, you want to dig out a one more extra along, just along the front end of it. And then we can just throw back in our water sources. And with it being a 7x7, the water will run all the way around, and it will funnel into a central point here. And then you can just break this block, and then it will actually funnel them to wherever it is that you then want to take them. So all the babies will then get funneled into this little area just here. And then we can replace that glass that we just broke to fix my little mistake. But as of far, you're doing pretty well if you managed to follow it so far. It is very, very simple once you've got all the dimensions and you know the mechanics of it. It's not too bad. Now, another benefit of this being built out of glass is that obviously the sky is still having a clear point of view directly through this glass down to them doors. If you were building this out of another block choice, you could actually move this line here one back further and just have the glass say about here, and then dig that down by 5. That's in case you wanted to build it out of anything else. Now, with doors, it needs direct access to the skylight. People think that these doors here, this line and this line, aren't being counted as villages or village houses when they are, because what it means is that the skyline, I do believe it's done by 4 line pivot sort of point. So just say that this is your direct route to the skyline. Any door can be placed anywhere between them 4 blocks there, and as long as it's still got a clear line of sight to the sky from this side or from this side, them 4 doors will all count as village houses. So yeah, you can have it like this and all of them doors down there will still be counted. So just in case you did want to build it out of something else, you just have to move this line back by 1. It doesn't actually affect the production of the farm or the way it works. And then we just actually want to put a roof on it. So we're building it out of glass. I don't know why you would want to build it out of anything else unless you just really don't want to, because I don't see you wanting to build this near any of your main buildings sort of thing, because no doubt you're going to want to have wooden doors dotted about in your main buildings. Like my villager breeders and sorters always out of the way of most of my buildings, just so that I can continue to use oh, we don't need that line, do we? There you go. Now also, if obviously I'm building it in creative, because you are not letting me grab some glowstone. If I know where glowstone is. How is it I'm not finding any glowstone? There we go. Thank you. Now, if you're building this in survival, as you probably will be, because otherwise you would just use spawn eggs, just whack some glowstone or some torches inside if you haven't been to the nether yet. I'll do it in the 4 corners. This will, 1, completely prevent mob spawn should any circumstance happen that the tilled soil here will be untilled and will be spawnable. That villager's going nuts with them doors and it's so loud. But he seems to be having fun down there by the sounds of it. Yeah, the glowstone will not only prevent spawns happening within inside the actual breeding pen, but it will also keep permanent lighting on the crops because you're going to want them constantly growing. Now, before we go planting the crops, I actually want to make sure that we get a farmer, which we did just get. And why is it bringing out a baby? I'm afraid that if I kill this guy, it's going to stop. Okay, let you just go off then. There we go. Thank you. And then let us grab our diamond hoe. Till all of this. Like so. And then we want to get our potatoes. You can use carrots if you haven't managed to get potatoes yet. I believe you can also use wheat, but there's also a danger that if they get too stocked up on just the seeds when they are harvesting the wheat, that they won't be able to then change it into bread because they won't be able to pick up the actual wheat rather than just having seeds. Oh, dude, get out of the way. And what would happen is that it would actually end up breaking your farm. I don't know if villagers throw beets at each other. I've not actually tested that out. But carrots and potatoes I know work 100% fine. Wheat is a bit of an iffy one here or there. It's like a swing and a miss sometimes. But just for the safer bet, go with carrots or potatoes. And then just get this started. We're just going to spam a load of bone meal. This guy's going to start harvesting, but he's going to have to harvest quite a bit first of all before he's got enough potatoes in his inventory to be generous enough to start throwing it to the other villager. Because villagers tend to be a little bit greedy like that. Da, 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 da. Hey guy, you're slacking. Why ain't you planted? Come on. See now, just picking them up. Yeah, he's just being really greedy. He's not even planting them now. Come on, look, you got some spots over here. Okay, look, he's happy now. He's got more than enough potatoes on him to start sharing with his mate. And then him and his mate get very happy together. And then that is how babies are born. There you go. Another baby villager. So as you can see, it is it's not dependent on the doors below so much. The doors below pretty much just make it so that they're trying to fulfill the cap of the villager for the village that is down there. So having 6 doors down there to having 20 doors down there, I don't think makes much of a difference. I've done it with 6 and I've done it with 10 and I've done it with 15 and I've done it with 20. It does not tend to affect the speed that these guys reproduce in any way, shape or form. The only thing that seems to affect the amount that these guys reproduce and how quickly they reproduce is on the growth rate of the actual crops and how much, like, you can actually speed this up a lot more if you just wanted to just start throwing potatoes to them. And that is one way to go about it, but yeah, I think that's going to do it for this tutorial. Hopefully you've learned and hopefully I've not gone on through too much. I just really didn't want to do a tutorial without explaining on how it works and why it works and how to improve it and what would slow it down and what would break it. But I think having all the information at hand now, you will be more than capable of going off by yourself and building a perfectly working villager breeder in your world. So yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed this tutorial and hope you found it helpful, and I'll hopefully see you all in the next one. Bye bye.